We now know what the 7-minute life daily progress report is. We've taken that 50,000 foot overview, and I hope the big takeaways that you've had from that last segment is that this template will help you create a daily written plan of action. It's also a repeatable process. Those two things that create a written plan of action, it's taking those 7 minutes in the evening to think, to plan, to clarify, to distill, to narrow down. It's all of those things so that when you walk into the office, you have a repeatable process, a daily progress report that becomes that template or tool for you to dramatically increase your daily productivity by knowing what you want to do. So now that we've recapped what we learned in the last lesson, I now want to give you a tour of the daily progress report. When you look at this, you'll see several different containers, and these containers are very intentionally laid out. Each container has a different function, and because it has a different function, it's not like I'm just writing things all over the page. I actually have a specific place to put each concept. And what that does by having a specific place is that it creates order, not only in my mind, but also order in how I spend my time. Part of it is that I want to make sure I can quickly identify where something is. Therefore, there are a lot of containers on this page, visual containers that make it very simple for me to find what I'm looking for. This is the front of the daily progress report, and as we walk through each of these containers, I hope you'll have downloaded the daily progress report so you can take notes. This is a tour of each segment. This is where it starts. The very first thing I want you to do after you download your planner is to put today's date at the top right. So let's say that this is a Monday and you've written the date on your planner. Why do I want you to start there? Because as you write the date on your daily progress report, it helps you realize that you do have something to say about what you will choose to put on your daily plan of action. I like to encourage people that I'm talking to that they need to take ownership of their day. Far too often we wake up in the morning, we fasten our seatbelt, we drive to work, we sit down at our desk, we look at the clock and the day is over. We hop back in our car, we fasten our seatbelt, we blink and we're back home. And the next day we do it over and over again. We're not being intentional, and sometimes we're not even aware that the days are passing us by. By writing the day in your planner, I want you to become intentionally aware that this is the limited time you have today, that you can actually plan out your day, you can be a better steward. This container is about starting your day with an intentional plan of action. The second container is the 5 before 11. This is one of the things that I really believe will help I know it will, it'll help your daily productivity, because what happens after you've taken that 7 minutes in the evening to think? And you've created this massive to-do list, and then you started taking that and thinking about what was most important. You've clarified what you want to do. I think you are beginning to see that all of these things happen over and over. You'll hear me repeating them, and then all of a sudden they'll start to happen in your daily life. You have a to-do list, you think through it, you clarify it, you prioritize those things. And then you look at how much time you have, you begin to narrow your scope. Then you make final choices for what you believe is most important for you to do tomorrow. And then the final thing that you have is to simply take action on what you said you would do. So that 5 before 11 becomes the most important template of what you will choose to take action. You will narrow it down to 5 high-value activities. High value is the key here, that you will accomplish before 11 o'clock. Now that's supposed to be 11 a.m. So 5 high value activities before 11 o'clock. That's why we call it your 5 before 11. Now, I will say that sometimes I don't get them done before 11 a.m. So if that's the case, you want to try to complete them before 11 p.m. It's just a theory. We've talked about it just a moment ago, but if you were to use this daily progress report for just 7 days for 1 week, and you were able to accomplish those 5 high value activities in 1 week, in just 1 week, you would have accomplished 35 high value actions. That's the power of having a template. Not only are you asked to remember these things, but you see it. So as soon as you're working on this one and something distracts you and pulls your attention away, you're able to come back to your daily written plan of action and find out where you were and pick up right where you stopped the last time. The third section on this is called the 7-minute life connections. We are so connected via apps and online and texting that we've missed out on what it was like to call a friend and have a cup of coffee. This connections list is just as important to me as getting things done. You know, what good is it in life if we get a lot of things done if we're not connected to people we care about? So this connections list is, again, we have to be intentional. How fast does the day go by? What would it mean just to pick up the phone and call a friend that you knew in college, or even send an email to someone and say, let's have coffee next Tuesday? Or what if you're in sales and you put down, let's contact a prospect, and not just send them an email and say, hope they want to do business with you, but literally to send them to call them and ask them to go to lunch or just have a conversation, even if it means calling your grandmother or having a conversation with somebody that you care about, a college friend. These connections are important, and if we're not intentional about them, we will miss out on those personal connections. This is a powerful piece of what we do. Unfinished tasks. Now, this block is something that we have more questions about because it's just really a painful part of life. If you were to step and look at your desk right this minute, every single file folder on your desk, every unreturned phone call, every email in your inbox, all of the to-dos and tasks that you've said you would do in the past are now considered unfinished tasks. How many things do you have that are unfinished in your life? That's what causes us this procrastination. It's not just that we've been procrastinating in the past, it's that we're so overwhelmed by the unfinished tasks that we feel like we can never unbury ourselves. These unfinished tasks, I would like to say that they can become mental clutter if they're not already mental clutter. But one of the key elements is that as you go through the day and you have something that pops up, someone interrupts you and says, hey, I need you to do this. Don't stop at that moment and let that interruption send you down a different direction. Simply write down what someone is asking you to do. And then when you come to a stopping point, you will remember it. You have not put it on a sticky note. You've actually put it in your written plan of action. So don't stop and do something right at that moment when someone's asking you to do a task. Write it under unfinished tasks and then come back to it. This section on daily contacts, I was in sales. And in sales as a financial advisor, I knew that the more people I talked to, the higher the sales would be. I also knew that the more people I talked to, the better customer service I was going to have, the better relationships, all of those things of interacting with people. Now, if you're in sales, that is great. If you're not in sales, a lot of people will use this as not their to-do list, but their to-done list. Now, that's not very, that's not very good English, but they might write down what they need to do and then keep track of what they have done each day. And I'll show you that as we walk into the actual explanation of specifics of how to use this. But in sales, I knew the more people I contacted, the more intentional I was about calling a lot of people, it was going to increase my sales. If you are a financial advisor watching this, you call more people, you increase your activity. Obviously, you're going to expand your business. If you're a mortgage banker, it's making sure that you stay in contact with people. What if you're a teacher, staying in contact with the parents of your students? All of these things. How many people will you talk to? How many actions will you take? And are you keeping track of those things? At the bottom of the daily progress report, you'll see the piece, the container that says what I spent. If you're trying to be mindful of what you are spending, make sure you write it down. You'll also see these psychological triggers. For example, are you drinking enough water? Each cup of water, each 8 ounces that you drink, simply mark off those cups of water, because at the end of the day, if you find yourself at like 5 cups of water, my guess is this psychological trigger, this looking at this saying, ooh, I have a gap, will make you go and actually fill up your cup and try to hit that. Humans want to reach those goals. We like those check marks. Time management has a lot to do with sleep. If you don't get enough sleep, you will not be productive. Are you getting 5 hours of sleep? 6 hours of sleep? Are you getting 8? How is the quality of your sleep? If your sleep is, if you have good sleep hygiene, it's going to improve your productivity, but we need to track it. We need to see how much we're sleeping. Remember that I said this daily progress report would begin to become predictive. That as you look at your behavior over time, you will see what makes you more productive. As you monitor your sleep, I believe you'll find that you're going to be more productive and more focused on the days you've had good sleep. Exercise is very important to me. Are you tracking your exercise? Even 10 minutes of walking would count. Are you exercising 30 minutes? Are you trying to do that 3 times a week? Are you tracking your exercise? I think we don't slow down long enough to reflect, to relax, and to pray. If we're just so busy that we're allowing everything else into our life, but we're not giving ourselves time to reflect, to pray, to meditate, to be grateful, what good is it doing in our life? You know, I can get everything done in the world, but if I don't have time to think and be grateful and pray, really, I don't think it matters that we get everything done. This is a key component. I want to make sure there's time in your life for you. I also believe that reading is a key part of growing and constantly learning so that I can do things, not just more things, but do things that make a difference around the world even, but also in my life and in the lives of my friends. Just a helpful tip, I say that someone reads 10 pages of a book a day. That might take 20 minutes. If you would be willing to commit to read 10 pages of a book a day, after 30 days, you would read a 300-page book every month. And what do you want to be? What do you want to learn? You want to be more astute at finances? Then read books on finance. You want to improve your ability to improve your time management? Read time management books. You want to be whatever it is, a better, a better entrepreneur, a better mortgage banker, a better teacher. As we read, we can become those things, and simple things like 10 pages a day. But the daily progress report, being a written plan of action, also will help you track what you eat. Writing down these things so that you can become aware. At the bottom of this, probably the most important question that you will be asked in your written plan of action is, did I do what I said I would do today? And it's a yes or no question. I think that's one of those things, again, that becomes predictive. As you look back, how many days did you do what you said you would do? I'm going to go into a little bit more about grace, that this planner is not there to say, oh, I've got to get it all done. It's really about getting enough done. That's a whole nother topic, that we don't have to constantly feel that we're being chased, that by having a written plan of action, when we accomplish those 5 things that we said were most important, we can actually say, yes, I did what I said I would do today. We can get to that point where we say we've done enough. We walk away and we have that sense of grace in our life rather than that crushing sense of I never have done enough. On the opposite side, or the back side of the 7-minute life daily progress report, there are also additional containers. There's a container to put your appointments. Now, when I created this almost 2 decades ago, we didn't have all these smartphones. And as we talk about smartphones and how they work, you'll see a little bit more about that. But this is where you can put in your hard stop appointments. If you have a lunch meeting, you can put it here. If you have a soccer game, you can put it here. So you can kind of see what you do. So this is the container for actual appointments. We get more comments about this segment than almost anything else. When was the last time you wrote a handwritten thank you note? Literally, calling up a client, having a great meeting, then you sit down at your desk and you write a thank you note. Dear John, thank you so much for our meeting today. It's always awesome to see you. I love seeing the pictures of your kids. Sincerely, Allyson Lewis. It takes me longer to address the envelope and put a stamp on it than it typically does to write the note. The power of a thank you note is unimaginable. The only people I now get thank you notes are from my dentist who says, hey, thank you for coming to see us, or from the person that changes my oil. No kidding. I get these thank you notes from them. Why aren't we sending thank you notes? It's a great habit to get into, and the daily progress report helps you monitor and acts as that prompt. All of these things do, and they act as prompts to remember, to help you remember to do these things. The next container is called voicemail. And even though we have all kinds of technology, you cannot believe the amount of times that I've gotten a call from, let's say I've gotten a call from Susan Jones. I've gotten a call from Susan Jones on my voicemail message on my phone, and she has left a phone number with a message. And so I leave it on my phone in those messages that continue to stack up. What would happen if, instead of just leaving it on your phone, you said, hey, Susan Jones called. She called at 3:45 on this day, because you're working on that. This is her actual phone number, and this is what she was calling about. By having this in your planner, if you have not taken the time to put Susan Jones information into your contact list, you can always come back, flip through the pages of your daily planner, and find that message with the phone number and what she was calling about. I cannot tell you how many times I've been so grateful to have written down what had come into my voicemail. Even though we think these voicemail notes are no longer valuable, oh my goodness. At the bottom of this page is an entire container for notes. I have to take a deep breath here. I want you to stop writing notes on every single piece of paper that is in front of you. I want you to stop taking random notebooks into your staff meetings. People tell me all the time, well, I only do things digitally. They walk in with their tablet and with a notebook. So I don't really think everyone does everything digitally. Don't bring any other notebooks into a meeting. Bring your daily planner into your meeting. Make sure that all of your notes throughout the day come into this one place. When you have a staff meeting, take your staff meeting notes here. When you have someone call and you're wanting to take notes from that phone call, take those notes here. The daily progress report and the 7-minute life daily planner are what we call a capture tool. These capture tools are choices. Where are you going to capture information as it comes into your day? Are you going to capture it in your email inbox? Are you going to capture it in a file on your desk, some kind of file folder? Are you going to capture it as a text message and just leave it there so you won't forget to return the text message? Are you going to leave it as a sticky note on your computer? I mean, if you look around your desk, my guess is you're going to see sticky notes from a year ago. Are you going to leave it inside of an app? Are you going to leave it in a voicemail message? You know, where are you capturing all of the pieces of information, all of these things that can cause mental clutter? Are you keeping them in multiple locations? Or are you using the daily planner, each one of these daily progress reports, as a capture tool, a single capture tool where you don't have to hunt for notes? You literally pick up your planner and there it is. We call these notes and the entire page having one safe location for all the information that you deal with that day. I'd like to just review that. This is such an important part of what the daily 7-Minute Life Daily Planner does, and the theory of why it takes 7 minutes, and the theory of creating a written daily plan of action. So let me just recap what we've talked about one more time. The daily progress report is a single tool. It is a repeatable process. It is a tool that the more you use, the more that it will become a habit, and it actually becomes easier and easier to use. The daily progress report is created with containers in mind. Each segment has a purpose. And because they're created in containers, each container will give you order in your mind, and it will also act as a visual prompt, so you don't have to rely on your unreliable memory. You can have everything in one place. The purpose of the daily progress report is to create a written daily plan of action. So, the daily progress report is a repeatable process. Over time, by using this template, it will become a habit. Each section of the daily progress report is viewed as a container. Each container has a purpose. 5 before 11, the purpose is to write down your 5 highest value activities that you will accomplish today. By having this container and each container, it creates order in your day and reminds you to be intentional about the things that you need to let into your life. So when I see this container and it's empty, I can become aware of that and say, oh yeah, I need to call whoever it is to stay connected. These prompts, rather than stopping at exactly what you've been doing, make sure that you're prompted to write things down. On this side, same thing. The key element here is I want you to remember to use your notes so that you have everything in one key capture place. The daily progress report, number one thing that I think you should do is date it. Make sure you take ownership of your day, these key psychological elements. 5 before 11. What are the 5 highest value activities you will accomplish before 11 a.m.? You plan that out the night before. If you are able to accomplish these 5 things before 11 a.m., the power of the check mark, 5 before 11. If you do this for simply 1 week and you're able to take 5 high value actions times 7 days, you would complete 35 high value actions in the next 7 days. A very strong container with a strong purpose. Connections, unfinished tasks, who are you going to contact and what will you do and what have you done? What did you spend? Are you able to now use these containers as psychological triggers or prompts for how much water you've had that day, how hydrated, how much sleep you've had? Are you exercising? Are you choosing to add time in for you to pray, reflect, relax? Are you reading and growing? What are you eating? And the simple question, did I do what I said I would do today? Yes or no? On the other side of this, we have a place to put our appointments. We can write thank you notes, which I think is a great habit. I definitely encourage you to write down text messages that you want to return, the name, the text message phone number, but definitely voicemails. I just cannot tell you how many times I've been able to look back and see who called and their phone number. And finally, probably the most important part of having this all in one place is that over time, this will become your single capture tool, and it becomes one safe location for all of your notes. So there you have it. This is the 7-Minute Life Daily Progress Report. It's a simple container. It is absolutely the #1 key to dramatically increasing your daily productivity by using a simple, repeatable process. As I finish out this segment, everything that is on this daily plan of action, I want you to remember the power of the check mark. There is something in us that when we write down something that we say we will do that is high value. We've taken our 7 minutes in the evening. We've thought about, here are the highest value activities I can take. There is a mysterious power in marking something off with a check mark. What would you feel like if over the next week, and I'm just asking for 1 week, that you wrote down 5 high-value micro actions that you were really committed to accomplishing, and you were able to step by step, day by day, mark these things off? Again, it's part of having a physical, tangible, written plan of action. As you see yourself make progress, it has an enormous motivating factor. So there you have it. We've talked about the overview and the step-by-step tour of all the segments of the Daily Progress Report, and I can't wait to walk you through some of the next steps that will have just as big of an impact by using your time wisely and increasing your daily productivity.